Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Sugar Detox Challenge. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are seeing me on a Facebook business page or on YouTube, come on over to the free group where you can join with us and get all of the interaction and the resources and ask questions. So today we are going to jump into day 2, but first I wanted to start today with a story for you. So one time, this was a while ago, it was in the summer. I was with a friend and the kids were really little. I think Jack was around at that time. I can't remember, but I know Maggie was really little. If Jack was around, he was like a baby. My friend had one kid, and she had membership to this club at a lake. So there was a little lake near where she was, and they had a boathouse and they had different activities and they had a dock and a lifeguard and a nice beach. And she had membership to this lake. So I went with her one time and we were, hanging out at the beach and having fun with the kids. And they had this long dock that would go out and they had boats you could take out and all sorts of fun stuff. So we were hanging out with the kids and the kids were getting a little bit bored and wanted something to do. So we decided to take one of these boats out. So we go down to the dock and we get into the boats. And I think it might have been just the two kids and myself and my friend. So we get down to the end of the dock, we get into a rowboat, and we have the oars that you can pick up at the boathouse, and we decide to take this boat out. So we're rowing the boat out and it's hard. It's hard to do. So I'm like rowing and rowing and rowing. And this is the way I assume that you're supposed to do it. And it's really hard. And I thought, well, boating is just really kind of hard. It's hard to push this boat through the water with two adults and two kids. So we're rowing and rowing and rowing in the lake. And then all of a sudden I look over at the shore and there's all these people at the shore and they're going like this. They're yelling at us and they're waving. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is there someone out here who's drowning? Like what's happening? And then I noticed that they weren't panicked looking, but they were definitely looking at us and they were trying to get our attention. So I knew nothing was like really, really wrong, but definitely something wasn't totally right. So I finally make this boat go back closer to the dock and closer to the shore. And now I can hear people and they're saying to me, "You're rowing the boat backwards." So you know how in rowboats, there's one side that's flat and then the front side comes to a point to be able to push through the water. And I've never rowed a actual rowboat before, so I didn't know what I was doing. So I just, took it out, and because it was hard, I just assumed that's how it is. It's hard to rowboat. So then once they told me that, I turned around in the rowboat and started rowing it the right way, and it was so much easier. So much easier to get through the water, so much easier to row. And it was like, oh, it was like this eye-opening experience of, oh, it really doesn't have to be this hard to row the boat. I was assuming that, oh, this is just how it is. So that is also true with getting control of the sugar. A lot of times we make it really hard. We make it much, much harder than it needs to be. So, and a lot of times when people hear that I am doing a sugar detox challenge, they think, oh, it's going to be we're avoiding sugar entirely during this time, or sugar is always bad and terrible, and we're going to avoid sugar forever. And that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we get out of balance and we get into these cycles physiologically and mentally where we are relying on the sugar so much that we're out of balance and it's causing a lot of health issues and we don't know how to get out of it and we make it really hard. So, one of the ways that we make it really hard is by not giving our body what it needs and expecting that we can still just take away the sugar. So, a lot of times people think, okay, so I'm going to do a sugar detox challenge. I'm just never going to have sugar again. I'm just not going to have any sugar, but they don't change anything else. So you certainly could go down the path of where not having any sugar at all ever again. And there is definitely some people I've found who they need to do that. They feel like for them, that's the only way that they can really stay on track is they have to avoid it completely. And that's fine if that's the way that they want to go. They just have an easier time doing it that way. And there is definitely some value in stopping the really obvious sugar for a time to kind of give your body a break from the inflammation. But I think we can significantly reduce the harm from sugar and still be able to have some sugar in your life. And I know for some people that's kind of controversial. Some people would hear that and say, no, sugar is bad. You can't ever have it. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's get control of the sugar. Because when you can get control of the sugar, you lose weight easier, you have less belly fat, you have less inflammation, and definitely less cravings. And there are two ways we do this through blood sugar balance in the body and through managing the mind. Both are important because you need to handle both of these things. So, if, for example, you're kind of eating a certain way and you have a lot of sugar in your life as well because you're eating and your blood sugar is all over the place, so that's making you crave sugar. So you're having more sugar, and that's making you crave more sugar. And then you're having more things that convert to sugar really quickly. You can think, okay, I'm just going to stop all of the sweets and it'll be fine. And you might make some progress, but it'll be so much easier, like the rowboat, if you can eat for blood sugar balance. Okay. So that is really important. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. So, um, for example, if you are still eating in a way that's causing your blood sugar to go up and down and up and down, you're still going to have a lot of cravings. So, let's talk about that. So, we know that when we eat something and it's converted into sugar really quickly, that's going to skyrocket our blood sugar. It converts to glucose. If it converts to glucose quickly, we get a huge spike in blood sugar. So you might feel some energy, you might feel good initially, and then insulin comes in to take that away because excess glucose in the body causes a lot of inflammation, a lot of issues. And when the insulin comes in to do that, we store the excess glucose as fat. So that's where that comes from. So, and this is going to vary based on person to person. It varies based on how much muscle you have. It varies based on kind of your overall health, how you metabolize things, because there are other places where we can store sugar. We can store the glucose, we can store it in the liver, we can store it in muscles. But if those are already full and we get a lot of this excess glucose, it gets stored in our fat cells. So that's kind of where that comes from. But we have all the other impacts from that as well. We get tired, we get cravings, we get inflammation, all of these different things. So let's say, for example, that you have cereal for breakfast. That's fine. You can have cereal for breakfast. That will skyrocket your blood sugar. And then later on, you'll have more cravings. And then you might, without even realizing it, end up really craving a bagel. And then you have a bagel for lunch. And that is also going to skyrocket your blood sugar. And then you're going to have some chocolates for a snack, which is fine. Again, no judgment. And then that is going to leave you really craving. And then you're really craving pasta for dinner. And then you have pasta for dinner. And then now after dinner, you're really craving sweets. So in that example, our blood sugar is skyrocketing, coming down, skyrocketing, coming down, skyrocketing, coming down. And each one of those times we're creating inflammation and we're storing fat. We're creating inflammation and we're storing fat. And I'm not saying you can't ever have these things, but you have to know how to work with them. So in that situation, you could say, well, I just won't have the chocolates for the snack. So I'll just continue to eat how I'm eating. I'm just not going to have the chocolates for snack, and I'm just not going to have the dessert after dinner. What's going to happen is that you are going to be, it's going to probably feel so uncomfortable because you're going to be white knuckling it because your body is screaming for more quick carbs when you come down on that curve. So when your blood sugar comes up and then it comes down just as quickly, it becomes like an emergency in your body, and that drives you to look for more quick carbs, to look for more things that you crave. So if we know how the body works, we can give the body what it needs and have less cravings. So let me go back over here. I can't really see comments. So thank you for joining. I can't see names right now, but later on I will, because in StreamYard, it doesn't allow Facebook to pass the names unless you say it's okay to do that, but I will see the comments later. So I do think that you can significantly reduce the harm from the sugar and all the benefits of that: losing weight faster, less belly fat, less inflammation, definitely less cravings, and still be able to have some of the sweetness in your life if you know how this works. So that's what we're going to talk about today and how to apply it. And then we're going to start applying it in day 3, 4, and 5. And also, we want to make sure that we're dealing with the mind piece of it as well, because even if we're dealing with the body piece, the mind is what is going to derail you most of the time. Because let's face it, all of us know different things that we're supposed to be doing, but we don't do them because different things take us off track. We want to feel a certain way. So we are maybe feeling kind of blue and we want to pick me up, or we're feeling anxious about something and we need some comfort. So we need to deal with the mind piece also, which we'll deal on the later days. But today, I just wanted to talk about how to reduce the harm from sugar. So let's talk about how we can do that. So we know different types of things, when we eat them, they react differently in the body. So when we have protein and we have healthy fat and we have fiber, those are all going to metabolize very differently than just plain sugar and processed carbs. So the protein, healthy fat, and fiber are like long burning logs, and the processed carbs and the sugar is like gasoline, or it's like lighter fluid. And it's okay to have it, but we need to make sure we know how to manage it. So what keeps us level is protein. Protein is huge. And for many people, protein is the cravings killer, and it's satisfying. And this keeps us level. And if you were with us in the protein challenge, we kind of talked about this as well. Healthy fat, also very satisfying and keeps you level. And fiber is really important as well. Fiber is like the safety net. So fiber is kind of special. Here's a quick tip for you. Have fiber first. Here's what happens. When we have fiber, what is fiber? Fiber is vegetables. I know there's some fiber in fruits, but there are also a lot of fruits that are really high sugar. So to simplify this, let's just say fiber is vegetables. So if you have fiber, vegetables first, and then you have a plate of, if you have fiber, vegetables first, it creates actually this viscous mesh in your gut. And then everything that comes after it, it's going to slow down the blood sugar response. So the carbs you have after those vegetables, they're going to have a significantly less impact than if you had them first. So fiber first, think vegetables first. So try this. So if you have, say, pasta and broccoli, have the broccoli first and then have the pasta, and then on another night, have the pasta first and then have the broccoli, and see if you feel a difference. Typically, if you're having the fiber first, and we know this from studies, if you have the fiber first, then and then the carbs, you will have less cravings, you will feel more full, and you will store less as fat. So that has a big impact. You're going to be less tired and all of those other good things. So we want to make sure that we're getting the protein and the fiber and the healthy fat throughout the day. So if we're doing those things, the drive for the cravings gets much less. It's like rowing the boat. It makes it so much easier. Now, I'm not saying that you will never crave sugar again, because there is also the habit and mental piece, which we'll talk about on day 3, 4, and 5. But this cuts out the whole biological piece if we can kind of calm down the cravings, and we can feel satisfied and give our body what it needs. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is making sure that we have the protein, the healthy fat, and the fiber. So we can take a look at how this works. So yesterday we looked at how things might be impacting you and what kind of impacts you had. And then I also said, start to write down what you're eating for yesterday. And so maybe you might be able to still remember this from yesterday. So if you wrote everything down from yesterday, but if you have that list or can mentally think back about what you had, let's go back and take a look at how you could eat for blood sugar balance to have less cravings. Let's start with breakfast. So for breakfast, what do you typically have for breakfast? And there's no judgment, because there's different ways to work with things. But let's say, for example, that some of the options that are really common, at least in Western households, are cereal or a bagel. So if we take cereal, sometimes just check the sugar that's in the cereal. Also, the sugar is a lot of, if you're having if you're having cereal and milk, you're getting some protein from the milk, but probably not enough to balance out the processed carbs in the cereal. So you're probably getting, a glucose spike there. If you're having a bagel, there's no healthy fat there. There's no healthy fat or protein there. You're really pretty much getting the carbs. And if you're having oatmeal, that also can cause a spike for people as well. So for some of these things, if you added a protein first and added like half of the cereal, or have a protein first and then have half of a bagel, then you'd have, less impact from it. So let's talk about what kind of protein things that you could have for breakfast. So you could have eggs or egg whites. I know some people are allergic to eggs, so you can't have those, but if they're safe for you, you can have those. That has good protein and fat in them. So if you had that first and then half of the cereal and that first, or in the bagel, you could have Greek yogurt. There's a lot of good protein in that as well, as long as that's an okay thing for you to have. You could also have a protein shake. So some people choose to have that in the morning because maybe they want more protein in the morning, but they don't feel like, having, salmon for breakfast. Although you could, I'm sure there's some places that do that, but you want to start your day with some protein. And if you're starting your day with a protein bar, it's really important to turn your protein bar over and look at the amount of sugar that's in it, because some protein bars have as much sugar as a candy bar. So an easy guide that I use, look at the grams of protein, look at the grams of fiber, add those two together. So let's say, for example, you had 10 grams of protein and you had 5 grams of fiber in your protein bar. That's 15. Then look at the sugar. So that 15, that fiber plus the protein, should be close to 3 times the sugar. So if you had protein plus fiber is 15 grams and the sugar is, say, 5 grams, that's fine, because it's 3 times that 5 grams of sugar, the protein and the fiber. But a lot of bars you see are the opposite. they only have 5 grams of protein, they have almost no fiber, and they have 15 grams of sugar. So that's going to send you huge spike. And so what happens when we get a huge spike? You're going to feel tired, cravings, inflammation, and you may be storing fat from that as well. So you can still have that if you're pairing that with protein and fiber. So you may be listening to this and wondering, well, I don't know what things have protein and fiber in them. They're in this group. So in this group, if you go to featured posts, I have lists of different things that can help you kind of put this together. So snacks. So that's the next thing. So starting with breakfast. So a lot of times breakfast is kind of where we start on the roller coaster. So we talked about breakfast. The next thing are snacks. If you're struggling with snacks, I have a snack freebie that you can download. Yeah, it's a useful equation, the protein and the fiber added to for the sugar. If you know that ratio, that is an easy way to kind of evaluate the protein bar. So turn over your protein bar, find the grams of protein, find the grams of fiber, add those two together. So, whatever, let's say it's, like I said, 10 grams of protein, 5 grams of fiber, that's 15. So then when you look at the sugar, the max you would have is a third of that, which is 5 grams. So if you're seeing other things, and here's one other thing I wanted to say about protein bars. So sometimes there are snack bars or protein bars that are all natural, and that's great. So Lara bars, I don't know if this could be different in your country or your area, but in the grocery stores near me, there's something called Lara bars. There's something called RX bars, and they have all like really whole ingredients. So the ingredients are closer to the source, which is great. That I applaud that. That's awesome. However, a lot of these, the sugar is really, really high. And now I can hear you saying, but it's from whole food, so it's good sugar, isn't it? It's good sugar. So a lot of these, you'll see they only have 2-3 grams, maybe 5 grams of protein, and they'll have 15 to 19 grams of sugar in these all natural, like whole food bars. And the thing is that your body doesn't know that it comes from dates. It's fine that it comes from dates, but it's going to have the exact same effect in your body. Yes, it's natural. Yes, it didn't, it still had to be processed in some way. But even if you're making your own treats with dates, with a lot of dates, it's good to know the ratios of things. It's going to be the same in your body as sugar. Sugar is sugar in your body. Now, some people say, oh, but it's got the antioxidants. It's got the this and that. That is the same as, eating Captain Crunch because it has some vitamins in it. That is the same as drinking wine because it has antioxidants in it. So that benefit is not really going to outweigh the impact that it has in the body. And again, I'm not saying that you can't ever have it, but you have to know the ratios. So if you're going to have an all-natural bar and it's got 20 grams of sugar, that's a dessert bar. So that's one you want to have after lunch, where you're having a lunch of, say, 20 or 30 grams of protein plus some fiber, and then maybe you have half of that protein bar, and that's your dessert. Okay, because then that protein bar is not going to it's not going to skyrocket you up and then drop you down and leave you with a lot of cravings. Because you can feel it sometimes when you have something sugary for breakfast, or you have something that's quick carbs for breakfast, that not that long after, you kind of start to feel shaky, and you start to you really feel like you need some carbs. You're starting to look for things without even realizing it. And that's your body is like, good morning. That's your body is like, it's an emergency. The blood sugar is dropping, and the insulin comes in, and it's going to take things and store it in fat cells. Because if all your other storage options are full, it stores it in fat cells, and it has to, because otherwise it causes all this inflammation and problems in your body. So snacks, if you're struggling with snacks, I have a snack freebie that you can download, snacks to keep you balanced, because sometimes it can be hard to figure out what to do for a quick snack. So if you don't have my snack freebie and you want it, just put the word snack in the comments and I'll make sure you get that. So sometimes with snacks, it can be hard to get a lot of protein in the snacks. So it's great if you have, really a whole food fiber and a fat. So, but the easiest thing is download the snack freebie. So I'll get that to you once I get back into the group. So lunch, do you get some protein at lunch? So if you are having a sandwich for lunch, some of the things that you can do is number one, use the fiber trick. Fiber first. Just remember fiber first. If you have fiber first, it will slow down everything that comes after it. So, what's fiber? Vegetables. Also, low sugar fruits can qualify as fiber, and I count them as fiber. So, any berries or a green apple, but you can count on vegetables have fiber in them. And I know not everyone likes vegetables. I never liked vegetables, but I started having them more because once I sort of realized what they could do for me, and now I'm starting to kind of like them. So, if you're having lunch, are you getting protein at lunch? Are you getting any fiber at lunch? Um, and one of the tricks, if you have a sandwich, this is one of the tricks you can use. You can sort of deconstruct your sandwich. So you can have the vegetables first, and then you can have, then you might need like a knife and a fork for this. Then you can have the protein and fat second, and then you have the bread for dessert because the bread, once again, skyrockets the blood sugar if you have it alone. But if you know how to work with it, you can have it. Okay, so make sure you're getting some protein, some fiber, some healthy fat at lunch. Dinner, if you're having a carb-heavy dinner, I mentioned this before. So if you like to have pasta for dinner, make sure that you're having some whole vegetables first. Try having some protein-based pastas. So there are some great protein-focused pastas like quinoa pasta and like garbanzo bean pasta. So not everyone likes the taste of the garbanzo bean pasta. Some people love it and they don't taste a difference. I like quinoa pasta. Quinoa pasta has a lot of protein in it, and I don't taste a difference with that one. So that's another one that you can do. And then also have fiber first, have vegetables first. Okay. So our homework for the next 3 days is to start to try this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to apply some of these as best you can. And so what I'm going to give you is I will have a 3-day meal plan for you, as well as the snack freebie that you can download. Now, you may not have the supplies that you need for the 3-day meal plan. You may decide not to follow it. That's fine. But the idea is to sort of try some of these things out so that you can see the impact of, oh, I don't crave as much. I feel fuller longer. I have more energy after dinner when I do this. So I will publish that 3-day meal plan for you, and you're able to try to make those changes. And we are also going to try to stop the really obvious sugars. So, which is like, the desserts, the cookies, and the other things, just to kind of give ourselves a break. Again, I am not saying that you will never have it again. I'm just saying if you've gotten really out of balance with things and you're having a lot of those impacts, can we just give our body a break, try a different eating style for a little bit, and then see if we feel a difference with the cravings. Now, you will still get some cravings because you have habits and you have ways that your brain is wired. So what you're going to notice, different things come up, and this is going to be interesting. You may want to keep a journal. You may want to kind of write some of this down. So if you're used to having ice cream every night before bed, and then tomorrow we're not doing that, start writing down what you're feeling physically, what you're thinking, And hopefully, you're able to try some of these changes so that will help lessen the cravings. It's not overnight, though, obviously. I mean, things kind of take some time for changes, but see if that, and then also plan for what else you can do. So at night, if you have a lot of sugar cravings, or if there's a certain place in the day where you would have a lot of sugar, what change are you wanting? See if you can figure out, how are you trying to feel? Other than I'm trying to feel a cookie in my mouth, but how are you trying to feel? Are you trying to feel more energy? Are you trying to feel comfort? Are you trying to feel happier? Are you trying to feel entertained? See if you can figure out, in the absence of that, what do you want to feel? Do you feel like it gives you energy, even though later on it takes away energy? And what else can you do to feel that way instead? Can you have tea? Can you call a friend? Can you indulge in some way that isn't just sugar? So we're just going to try to take a break. So my gift to you today will be a 3-day meal plan that you can try out. That'll have a variety of things. My snack freebie is available, and I'll get that to you for people who requested that. And so then today we are going to try to have protein and healthy fat and fiber with each of your meals. You can try to use the meal plan if you want, and stopping the obvious sugar, like the actual sweets. And to just start to notice how that feels. So then for the next 3 days, day 3, 4, and 5, we're going to be practicing this, and then also digging into the mindset piece of this. So hopefully this is valuable to you. I'd love to know what is most useful to you in this. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will post the homework later on today and get you links for the snacks and also links for the 3-day meal plan. All righty.